In the forgotten ruins of Pripyat's hospital, number 126, just a few blocks from the old amusement park, lies one of the most disturbing legends to crawl out of the Chernobyl exclusion zone. Locals, stalkers, and a few brave urban explorers whisper about something more terrifying than radiation. They say the hospital is home to a creature born from decades of decay, filth, and mutation, a massive, writhing mass of rats fused together by their tails, the Rat King. But this isn't the fairy tale version you might have heard. Witnesses claim it's alive, moving as one, hissing, twitching, and even tracking intruders. A clump of squealing bodies the size of a mattress, covered in sores, blind, milky eyes, and something far worse, intelligence. They say it doesn't scurry like normal rats. It watches, it waits, it remembers. The theory? Some believe radiation didn't just mutate wildlife, it somehow allowed consciousness to spread through the hive. The Rat King isn't just rats, it's a single living organism, one mind. Some even say the zone protects it, that it only reveals itself to those who shouldn't be there. And here's the thing that makes this more than just campfire talk every year. Explorers return from the hospital missing memory cards, with chewed up gear, or simply too shaken to speak. Something is in those tunnels beneath the ER wing. Something watching through the cracks in the concrete, and it's not human. Deep in the woods near Louisville, Kentucky, there's a rail trestle that's become the center of one of America's most chilling legends. Locals say if you walk under that bridge at night, something might start calling your name. Not in a voice you recognize, but in one that sounds almost right. That's when you've already gone too far. That's when the Pope Lick monster is close. It's been described as a half-man, half-goat figure, horns curled back, hooves clacking on metal, eyes like hot coals in the dark. According to eyewitnesses, it doesn't just wait for people to stumble upon it. It calls them in. Some say it uses hypnosis. Others believe it mimics voices of loved ones. Either way, people are drawn to the tracks and then something happens. There's a theory that the creature is a twisted product of old genetic experiments, maybe even something that escaped from a military project back in the Cold War era. It's no accident that the sightings started increasing just when the area was fenced off. The most believable reports come from people who didn't even know about the legend. A man walking his dog late one evening heard hooves behind him on gravel. No horses nearby, no people. Just heavy rhythmic steps that stopped whenever he turned around. He left the woods and never returned. And here's the most unsettling part, some believe the goatman can only be seen if it wants to be. Like it chooses its audience. And if it does, you're not getting away without a mark, or worse, a memory you can't explain, buried just beneath the surface. Something about that bridge makes people disappear, and no one's entirely sure it's the train they should be afraid of. In the darkest corners of the internet, there's one creature whose description rarely changes. Pale, hairless, bent on all fours, with limbs too long for any human. It doesn't speak, it just watches. And sometimes it moves, like it's learning how to use its body for the first time. They call it the Rake. From rural Pennsylvania to deep Oregon forests, people have reported the same eerie presence. Hunters stumble upon clawed-up deer remains with no clear cause. Campers wake up to find deep scratches on their tents. And then there are the silent witnesses, the ones who say they locked eyes with something crouched in the dark, its face blank, its eyes darker than the night around it. And perhaps the most unsettling part is how many versions of this creature have surfaced. Some images show it crawling through the woods at night. Others, like this one captured by a homeowner who heard scratching in the hallway, reveal a twisted, almost gremlin-like form lurking in the shadows. Whether real or a trick of the light, it's hard to look at this without feeling a chill. Those who've encountered it often report strange symptoms: sleep paralysis, missing time, a heavy feeling like something is still near them days later. Some even think it doesn't hunt, it erases. Quietly, cleanly, like it was never there. And neither were you. Not long after the eruption of Mount St. Helens, strange things started happening in the forests nearby. Locals began whispering about a creature seen gliding silently between trees, too large to be a bird, too quiet to be a plane. It had glowing eyes, leathery wings, thick blue fur, and a muscular body like a man. They called it the Bat Squatch. What began as a single sighting soon grew into a web of encounters that stretched across Washington state. One hiker described it standing over 7 feet tall, crouched near a clearing, staring at him with a flat, unreadable face. When he stepped back, the creature opened its wings and leapt into the air without a sound. A few weeks later, a small aircraft pilot claimed something massive flew alongside his plane briefly before disappearing into the clouds. These stories come from very different people, many with no interest in folklore, and yet they describe the same beast. Some theories suggest the eruption might have disturbed something ancient, something that had stayed hidden underground until the blast. Others link it to secret government projects, perhaps even failed genetic hybrids meant for military use. Either way, there are still reports, though rarely publicized. Strange shapes in the sky, screeches that sound like metal scraping rock, and once a blurry trail cam photo showing two curved wings folded behind a tree. Most who see it wish they hadn't. The woods around the volcano still hold secrets. Some of them can fly. If Bat Squatch rules the sky, the kappa dominates the water. Found in Japanese folklore for centuries, this creature isn't just a myth told to children. Reports from rural areas still trickle in stories of something lurking just below the river's surface. The kappa is said to resemble a humanoid turtle with green scaly skin, a sharp beak, webbed hands, and a dish-shaped depression on its head that must stay wet. And if it dries out, the kappa weakens, which, according to some, is the only way to escape it. Fishermen have spoken about something grabbing at their nets from below, stronger than any normal animal. In one village, a child was pulled into a stream only to be found moments later, unharmed, but with deep bruises along the arms like the grip of hands, not paws. Though the story ended safely, it sparked renewed fear in the area. A few even built small kappa shrines near the riverbanks as a warning. More than a dozen old prints and temple scrolls feature the creature, drawn in disturbing detail long before the age of viral monsters. Some believe the kappa is a leftover from a prehistoric species, one that evolved to live undetected in deep river caves. Others think it's tied to old spirits or curses rooted in the land itself. What makes the kappa so eerie isn't just its appearance, it's how calmly it's accepted in local culture. Not as a joke, but as something you avoid without question, something real. In the dense, steamy rainforests of Java, where daylight fades quickly and the trees press in from all sides, there have been sightings of something massive flying just above the canopy. The locals call it the ahul, a bat-like creature with a wingspan, stretching nearly 30 feet, far larger than any known bat species. It's not the wings that frighten people the most, though. It's the face. Witnesses describe it as eerily human, almost like a primate, but with eyes that reflect red even in the dim light of dusk. The first Western accounts came from explorers in the 1920s, but even now, sightings haven't stopped. Hikers have reported hearing flapping sounds like sails unfurling above their heads, followed by a heavy thud as if something enormous landed just out of sight. Once, a field researcher claimed he saw it drinking from a stream, folding its wings like arms and looking directly at him, before taking off vertically into the air. There were no tracks, just broken branches and silence. Some cryptozoologists suggest it could be an undiscovered megabat or a giant descendant of pterosaurs. Others think the ahul might not be biological at all, maybe something interdimensional that slips through under specific conditions deep in the jungle. What's unsettling is that people keep seeing it, and yet there's never a clear photo, only quick sketches and frantic retellings. The forest swallows evidence quickly, and the ahul seems to know exactly when to vanish. From Java's canopies to the scorched red sands of Namibia, the next creature couldn't be more different, or honestly, more bizarre. For decades, travelers crossing the Namib Desert have reported seeing a snake, but not slithering across the dunes. Flying, with no wings. Witnesses say the creature rises out of the ground like smoke and moves through the air in long, undulating waves, its body shimmering like metal in the sunlight. It's been spotted by truck drivers, herders, and even park rangers. The Namibian flying snake is said to be over 20 feet long, covered in smooth, scale-like plates. Some claim it emits a low hum as it moves like static or distant thunder. One local legend tells of a man who tried to follow it, only to come back disoriented, unable to speak, with strange burn-like marks on his skin. That case was never officially investigated, but it made the rounds in regional newspapers and radio broadcasts. Some researchers link the creature to ancient tribal carvings found on rocks in the region's serpents with wings and circles around their heads, possibly halos or force fields. Whether it's a real biological anomaly or something else entirely, people keep seeing the same thing. And in a place as remote and silent as the Namib, that's enough to unsettle even the most skeptical minds. In the quiet woodlands of New Jersey, near the banks of the Musconetcong River, a different kind of creature has been reported. It doesn't fly, it doesn't roar, it stands. Tall, still, watching. Witnesses call it the Mantis Man, a giant insectoid figure around 7 feet tall, with long segmented limbs, an upright posture, and bulging black eyes that seem to follow movement without blinking. Most sightings have come from fishermen, all describing the same thing: a man-sized praying mantis standing partially submerged in shallow water, unmoving. Then, without a sound, it vanishes. No splash, no ripple, just gone. One man swore he saw it lean its head sideways, studying him before slipping backward into the river like a shadow. He left his fishing gear behind and hasn't returned since. Unlike many cryptids, the Mantis Man has no roots in old legends. It seems to have appeared suddenly in the last couple of decades, almost like something new. Some think it's a mutated insect, a product of environmental toxins or experiments gone wrong. Others suggest it's not a creature at all, but a being from somewhere else, only visible under certain conditions, low light, fog, or in the corner of your vision. A few online posts even connect it to dreams. People who've never seen it in real life still describe the same figure showing up while they sleep, standing at the edge of a river, not moving, not speaking. And somehow, that silence is the most disturbing part. In the vast, empty stretches of the Gobi Desert, there's a legend so strange that even local herders lower their voices when speaking of it. They call it the Olgoi Korkoi, the Mongolian death worm. Described as bright red, fat like a sausage, and stretching up to 5 feet long, this creature is said to live beneath the sand, surfacing only when disturbed. And when it does, people say it can spit acid strong enough to corrode metal and kill instantly. The first accounts reached the West through paleontologists in the 1920s, but locals had been telling the same story for generations. It doesn't slither like a snake, it pulses like a living muscle. When threatened, it raises part of its body and releases a thick spray. Some claim it also emits electrical charges like a living taser. While that sounds impossible, several witnesses from isolated villages insist they saw livestock collapse without explanation after crossing what they thought were worm trails. In recent years, adventurers and documentarians have tried to catch the creature on camera. One expedition captured heat readings below the sand, moving in unnatural patterns, but nothing ever surfaced. Another group found a wide, twisted trail in the desert that ended abruptly at a cracked patch of glassy sand, as if something hot had melted the ground. There's no real proof, but the locals continue to warn travelers to stay away from certain parts of the desert, especially during dry, stormy weather. That's when the death worm is said to rise. Thick pine forests cover southern New Jersey, and buried deep within them is a creature said to have haunted the region for over 250 years. They call it the Jersey Devil, a winged beast with hooves, a long tail, leathery wings, and the face of something not quite human. It's been blamed for livestock deaths, eerie screams in the woods, and strange tracks in the snow that lead nowhere. The legend says it was born in the 1700s, the 13th child of a cursed family who grew horns, wings, and flew up the chimney minutes after birth. But even today, people report hearing its screams, a high-pitched wail that echoes through the trees at night. In the early 1900s, a wave of sightings caused full-blown panic, with newspapers covering tracks found on rooftops and police officers describing something flying above the tree line. Even in modern times, the sightings haven't stopped. A man driving through the Pine Barrens late at night described a winged figure swooping low over his car, slamming onto the hood, and leaving claw marks before vanishing into the woods. Others have found mutilated deer with no signs of predator bites, only deep puncture wounds. The area remains largely undeveloped, and those who live nearby tend to stay indoors after dark. There are theories, of course. Some believe the Jersey Devil is a mutated bat, others say it's an ancient creature mistaken for folklore. A few even connect it to underground military labs hidden in the forest decades ago. But the most unsettling thought? Maybe the creature doesn't live in the woods. Maybe it is the woods and you're already inside its territory the moment you step off the road. On a quiet residential street in Fresno, California, a security camera picked up something bizarre late one night. 2 pale, long-legged figures walking silently across a lawn. No arms, no torso, just smooth, thin legs and a slight head at the top. The footage spread fast and the name stuck: the Fresno Nightcrawlers. What made the clip so eerie wasn't just how strange the creatures looked, but how naturally they moved. Their gait was slow and steady, with a strange fluidity, as if their joints bent in ways humans couldn't replicate. They didn't run. They didn't react. They just walked and disappeared into the darkness. Not long after, a second video surfaced, this time from Poland, showing similar figures walking through a wooded trail. Some believe the Nightcrawlers are alien in origin, scouting Earth without making contact. Others point to Native American totems in California that appear to show similar leg-only figures, hinting that this isn't a new phenomenon. Theories range from ultra-terrestrial visitors to bioengineered surveillance drones too advanced to detect. Skeptics argue it's all clever puppetry or digital effects, but none of the videos have ever been definitively debunked. And that's what makes them so compelling, because if these things are fake, no one's figured out how they were done. They leave no footprints, they make no noise. And yet they keep showing up in places where no one's expecting them. Quiet, expressionless, and always just passing through. In the small village of Monin, nestled in the Cornish countryside of southern England, something strange was seen hovering near the church tower. In 1976, two young girls described a creature unlike anything they'd ever imagined, a tall, dark figure with enormous wings, glowing red eyes, and a head shaped like an owl's. They ran in terror, convinced it had been watching them. And honestly, they weren't the last to see it. Over the next few years, multiple sightings followed, always near the same church, and always involving a chilling sense of being observed. The Owlman became known as the UK's answer to the Mothman, a winged figure associated with unease, fear, and sometimes even disasters. What makes the reports hard to ignore is the consistency. Witnesses all describe the same unnatural silence before the creature appears and the same sick feeling that follows. In one case, a woman claimed her camera wouldn't function near the church and felt dizzy the moment she stepped into the graveyard, only for the device to start working again miles away. Some think it's a species of giant owl never officially classified. Others believe it's something more paranormal, a guardian or a harbinger. Either way, the sightings tapered off after the 1980s, but locals say the atmosphere around the church still feels wrong. Even in daylight, the woods around Monin seem unusually quiet, as if nature itself is waiting for something to return. Back in April of 1977 in the town of Dover, Massachusetts, 3 separate teenagers reported seeing something strange near a quiet stretch of road. What they described was no known animal, a pale creature, small and thin, with long fingers and an oversized, melon-shaped head. Its eyes were glowing orange, and it didn't seem to walk as much as it glided over the stones and brush. Each of the teens described the same thing, even though they had no contact with each other at the time. What's unusual about the Dover demon case is how little it changed over time. The creature was only seen over the course of 2 nights, and then never again. Yet it left behind a trail of fascination and fear. Some researchers believe it was a misidentified animal, but others point to how unlike anything in nature it seemed to be. The creature had no fur, no clothes, no known face. It just watched and moved away into the dark. There's a theory that the demon was an interdimensional being, something that slipped into our world briefly and left just as quickly. Another idea is that it was the result of some kind of experiment, possibly connected to military labs in the area during the Cold War. A sketch drawn by one of the witnesses remains one of the clearest images associated with any cryptid case, and it still looks alien to this day. The scariest thing? If it was just passing through, where did it go? In the farmland and forest near Elkhorn, Wisconsin, a creature has been terrifying locals for decades. It walks on 2 legs, stands over 6 feet tall, and has the head of a wolf with piercing yellow eyes. Locals call it the Beast of Bray Road, a werewolf-like monster that seems to appear when the roads are empty and the fog rolls in. It's not just a single story. Farmers, truckers, teenagers, people from all walks of life have reported it. One woman said it leapt onto her car as she slowed down near a ditch. Another man saw it tearing into roadkill and standing up straight when he stopped his truck. They all describe the same thing: muscular body, thick fur, hands with claws, and a snarling face that looks too smart to be fully animal. Strangely, it never attacks. It stares, watches, then disappears into the cornfields or tree line, as if it was never there at all. Some believe the beast is a flesh and blood creature, a remnant of something prehistoric or unknown to science. Others lean into the supernatural, that it's a shapeshifter, cursed spirit, or guardian of a territory long forgotten by people but still guarded by something older. Either way, sightings continue to this day. Locals advise visitors not to stop on the side of the road at night, especially near the woods. Not because of coyotes, because sometimes when the headlights catch just the right angle, you see something looking back, something standing on two legs. Along the banks of the Little Miami River in Loveland, Ohio, strange stories have circulated since the 1950s. People describe a creature about 4 feet tall, shaped like a man but with leathery skin, a wide frog-like mouth, and eyes that glow in the dark. Most sightings happen near the water, often late at night, and always just long enough for the creature to vanish before anyone can get a good look. The most well-known account came from a police officer in 1972. He was driving at night when he spotted what he thought was an injured animal on the roadside. When he stepped out to investigate, the creature stood up on 2 legs, looked at him, then leapt over a guardrail and disappeared into the river below. He later gave a formal report, and he wasn't the only one. Another officer confirmed seeing something similar just 2 weeks later. Some locals believe it's a species of amphibian that somehow evolved differently, hiding in the muddy riverbanks. Others suggest it's a leftover from some secret experiment, or even a creature that only appears at certain times when the air is humid and the river mist is thick enough to blur the lines between what's real and what isn't. There's even a grainy black and white photo taken in the 90s that shows a tall, thin figure by the water. Whether it's real or not, no one's been able to explain it. So, after everything you've heard, what do you think? Are these just stories? Or is something hiding out there in the woods, rivers, and skies, just waiting to be seen? Maybe they're real, and maybe you'll be the one who finds out. That's about it. What is the scariest creature you've ever encountered? Write in the comments. For more useful information, watch other videos.